Well, quite a lot has went down in the past couple of days, and quite frankly, it has just given me a lot of thought, and I think it's just about time that after delaying a lot of planned reviews and, just kind of ultimately scrapping a lot of things, I think it's time that I just get back to the basics of this channel and just kind of talk about movies that I've seen versus planning big projects. Now, I can still try and do some of these, but since my life is currently kind of going downhill, I figure what better way than to just talk about the movie I've seen recently, The Monkey. Now, I've seen The Monkey, the second it released in February, but I figured I'd give my fairly quick thoughts on this movie because it's a movie I've seen and I kind of liked it. Now, for those of you who haven't seen The Monkey, it's by the guy that directed Long Legs, Osgood Perkins. Now, for those of you who don't know who Osgood Perkins is, he's the son of Anthony Perkins, who was, the star in Psycho. Now, if you haven't seen Psycho, please do yourself a favor and watch that movie, and you'll get a kick out of it. But anyway, he's the son of Anthony Perkins, and he's done other movies like Gretel and Hansel, and, a couple of others that I'm not too familiar with. Gretel and Hansel and Longlegs are pretty much the only two, and this movie are the only ones that I kind of know that he's directed. And, he's now taken a stab at another horror movie. But this time, those of you who have seen Longlegs, I'm not sure if you're going to dislike this movie or really like it. I mean, I personally thought the movie was pretty good, but he decided to take a stab at The Monkey. Now, this is a very interesting movie because if you have seen Longlegs, this is a drastic tonal shift from Longlegs. Now, there are still moments of horror in this, but this is mostly comedic based. And it's kind of to the movie's detriment and also, where I give a lot of its points. Now, I don't want to take a super long time with this review. Like I said, I just want to make this a simple review and just kind of give my overall thoughts on it. So, Osgood Perkins directed The Monkey, and it's basically, I'm just going to say, it's just Final Destination, but essentially with a monkey. You play the monkey, and it will just randomly kill someone on Earth in the most bizarre way possible. And just like I just said, in the most bizarre way possible, it leads to some pretty comedic and downright Looney Tune-esque deaths in this movie. And if you have that jacked up sense of humor, you can't help but giggle every single time someone dies in this movie because, like I said, they are very bizarre and very odd. So you can't help but kind of go like, okay, that's just out of nowhere and silly. Now, the characters do react. Now, for the first couple of deaths, there are some where you're just like, yeah, that's pretty funny. But after a while, unfortunately, every single death is kind of played off as like that one scene from the trailer where, Theo James is, taking off his glasses after being covered in blood, and he's just utterly shocked from the amount of death that he just saw. And that's pretty much the entire movie and every single death scene. It is essentially just someone getting killed in the most nonsensical way possible and going like, and just walking away. And that is funny for the first couple of times, but since this movie mostly hinges on its deaths, this movie kind of plays it up to the point where I'm just like, it works, but then when you keep doing it, then it just kind of gets old after a while. Now, this movie isn't very long, and for a lot of people can be kind of boring, but for me it wasn't. It's a fairly entertaining movie. I feel like all the actors do a good job. Osgood Perkins, who has a brief appearance as an uncle, he has a few moments to shine, and he plays a somewhat funny role in this. I feel like the story as a whole kind of works, but at the same time, there are moments where it just drags for me, and it's kind of unfortunate to say that because I do find this movie entertaining, but there are so many moments where I can't help but go like, okay, can we pick up the pace a little bit? Not only that, just getting back to the drastic tonal shift, now this will really make or break for this movie, and for me, it really does I'm comfortably right in the middle with it because I do like how Osgood Perkins just kind of taps into his demented, darkly comedic, funny side a little bit here versus, Longlegs, and if you've seen that, that is very drastically different from this movie, and it's very apparent in this. But for me, particularly right near the start of the third act, when you get a reveal near the third act on why everything is happening the way that it has, you can't help but go like, okay, this is really silly. And to top it all off, not only the character, now Theo James, he plays his twin brother, and his twin brother grown up, it's just a cartoon person, essentially. Like, when you get a look at his hairstyle, the way he acts, the way he behaves, it is just so drastically different from the rest of the story, you can't help but go like, what kind of movie am I watching? And I mean, it really goes out there. Now, I give massive props to a movie that's just willing to get weird, but there is just a moment where I'm just like, this is like too wheeled in and too out of nowhere. But it doesn't affect the movie for me. I will say the ending also is just another moment where it's like no one laughed in the last half of this movie. It was just literally another one of those shocking deaths that just kind of happens. You're just like, oh, that's it. That's how it ends. And it ends not abruptly, but it's just a very weird way to end the movie. I don't want to spoil it because, again, you're either going to kind of go like, oh my god, and then laugh, or you're either going to go, okay, and then the movie just ends and you're just going to go like, okay. Like, that is literally the movie. You are either going to be going like that. But those are really my biggest complaints with this movie because, like I said, the acting with this film is really good. I feel like the story, although at times it can be a little all over the place and a little bit messy, particularly near the third act, I feel like it keeps it engaging all the way through. And also, just like as my title implies, this is the most 80s, this is the modern day version of an 80s splatter movie. Because it feels like that this movie was made in the late 80s, or even early 80s. It kind of reminds me of The Blob from the 80s, where it's just very ultra violent and gory and kind of keeps a somewhat serious but also silly tone. There are some moments with the monkey that I will admit are kind of like unsettling, to say the least. But again, since it keeps a somewhat goofy tone throughout the entire thing, it kind of just makes you go enjoy the movie. Well, at least for me, I enjoyed the movie. But anyway, that's really about all I have to say about the monkey. There's nothing a whole lot I have to get that deep into it. I mean, you're either going to like this movie because of how darkly comedic it is, or you're just going to find the movie somewhat annoying and just, passable, or you're going to absolutely despise it. There's only going to be those three options. And for me, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun time at the movies, and the deaths, funny at times, but it does get old after, a while, so there's that. Anyway, take it easy, everyone. I'll see you in the next one. See ya.